Okay, it's now 1 o'clock. Welcome to the January 18th County Commissioners meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, today I'll start by opening the Board of Finance annual meeting.
Hello. Okay, did everybody receive notes from last year's meeting?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes for 2021.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And oppose the same, and that's passed. As you recall, last year, Commissioner Green, you were the president of the Board of Finance. So there's a signature for the president, so
Yeah.
I've given that to you.
I can. Mine's just a bit. And then I'll fix it.
I think I signed it.
Yeah.
There you go. Motion for the election of officers next.
Sure, we'll move into the election of officers.
I'll make a motion that we, as president, Teresa Green.
I'll second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Oppose the same.
Secretary.
I'll make a motion to nominate Commissioner Trump as secretary.
And I'll second that as well. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And oppose the same.
Then we just need to accept the investment policy and the interest.
Are there any significant changes this year
There are
from
no,
last?
there are no CDs, that we have nothing in CDs, everything is in county general at this time.
And is that because interest rates are so low?
And right now I'm looking, I don't see anything changing for the next 18 months with public interest funds. I have looked at 12 months and it's getting close, but with us having it in county general and pulling it out, then I'm not going to, it's not going to be the best interest for the funds.
Sure. So where are the funds now? Just in like a savings,
County general.
county
So
general?
we make the same, we make county general and we also make the same with the art funds.
Okay. Well, I'd entertain a motion to accept the 2022 investment policy.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Anything further? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. And oppose the same.
Okay.
Is there anything to sign on that?
It's already signed it.
Gotcha.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'll close our Board of Finance annual meeting and open the regular commissioner meeting. And we'll start with Attorney Matt Shipman.
I don't actually have anything to report unless you guys have any questions at all for me. It's been kind of a quiet couple weeks, month really, so.
Did we ever get back the BW contract that I know we were?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
You mean signed from him? Like,
Mhm.
did he sign it? I didn't get it to him to sign. Was that it came?
I
Yeah.
think we signed it, but we were waiting on him to sign it. Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so.
okay.
So that's something we can follow up with them on. Okay, Todd Geiger from the Whitley County 4-H Youth Development Update.
Thank you.
Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for letting me come in and give all of you an update about our 4-H Youth Development Program here in Whitley County. It seems like it's been a long time since I was able to get in here with COVID and everything. So not going to take a ton of time. Just wanted to highlight two programs in particular from this past year. One is our 4-H STEM Connection program. That was a program that I launched 3.5 years ago that incorporates high school students here in the county from all 3 high schools. I train them in the world of STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and we take out hands-on activities to our kids, particularly in the elementary level. We do some in the middle school, but it's geared mainly towards our elementary kids. Over those 3.5 years, I've worked with them to compile 30 hands-on activities. In those 3.5 years, we've went out to over 35 different events, both during the school day and after the school day. Grade levels range anywhere from 2nd grade to 7th grade. We've been at Cherubusco, Columbia City School, South Whitley as well. Obviously, last year was quite a challenge with COVID and not being able to get in the door. So with our 4-H program in general, that makes it really tough to engage since our program is truly an extracurricular program. But I really didn't want to lose that connection that we had with the schools and the connection that we had with those high school students. So I totally converted that program to a kit program where we still came in, we still built the activities, put them actually in a tub or in a box, and then we were able to send those out to individual classrooms. So what's unique about our STEM program when we go out is we provide all the materials. The kids are really broken down in small groups. So in my opinion, if you're going to do STEM really, really well, the kids need to be in small groups. So every kid truly is doing hands-on instead of in a big classroom setting. Coming from the classroom, I was an elementary teacher for 15 years. I always thought I did STEM well. I did not, because I was sitting in front of a class of 25 or 30 kids, and there was no way to truly engage them hands-on and making sure all 25 or 30 really were able to follow along or get out of it what I wanted them to. So with this program, the kids are in much smaller groups. Every kid is able to participate in the activity. So trying to come up with a way, how can I do that in the midst of COVID and the team not actually able to get in the classroom? So we were able to build the kit with the 3 or 4 hands-on activities for that class. But the other part that made our program unique is we literally go in with what I call an army when we go into an event. So with our team, we have anywhere from 8 to 12 high school kids that go along. I bring also 4 adults along with me as well. So we're going with a minimum of 12 people. So we can really get those kids in smaller groups and really do a lot of hands-on stuff. So how do I make that in the midst of COVID when we can't go in the door physically? So we actually took each activity and our team videoed the activity so the teachers could still put it up on the screen and the kids could still follow along. That's a perk to the teachers. They get an opportunity to kind of chill for about 30 minutes where they're not the ones really leading the activity. The kids can still follow along with us. Yes, the teachers were a little bit more engaged this past year due to COVID because we couldn't physically be there. So they were laying out the supplies and things like that. It was really good in terms of connecting with those classrooms and those teachers. However, it took a really long time to get those built. I wanted to take our program a step further. So when we originally launched this program, our activities were not aligned directly with individual grade level Indiana academic standards. So I wanted to take that step. So if a third grade teacher called me and said, would really like for you to come in and do hands-on STEM or order one of our kits, I wanted to be able to hand them and say, these are all the Indiana academic third grade standards that these activities will match or align with. So we spent a ton of time doing that. So we weren't actually able to launch this program until about the end of April, beginning of May last year, which really close to the end of the school year. However, it took off like crazy. And as I put in there, we actually ended up building 19 different classroom kits, which went to 19 different classrooms at 2 different schools here in the county. It would have went to a lot more, but we were running out of time. And for our team to find time in our day to build 19 different kits took a long time. But through that, we were able to reach still over 400 kids last year in our STEM program. On a normal year, so when we're able to actually get out into the schools, we average somewhere between 700 and 900 kids that we're able to interact with during a school year. So that was really exciting. The only thing that we charge for with that program is simply recouping our supplies. So when we go in person, it's $2 per kid. That helps us continue to purchase the supplies that we bring out. So we kept that price point the same with our kits. So if you had a classroom of 25, we only charge $50. So a new program that we were able to partner with this past year was our robotics camp. Columbia City High School reached out to me probably in April and asked about the possibility of doing a robotics camp. They were wanting to bridge the gap between elementary kids and high school kids and keeping them engaged in robotics and STEM technology, things of that nature. They felt they had lost that component at the middle school, whether it be due to lack of materials and supplies or just simply the opportunity. They knew that I had those types of things in our 4-H program and wanted to know whether we could set up a robotics camp in June. It would be a week long, and the kids would come in for 2 hours for 5 straight days, and we would focus strictly on robotics and technology. And as that leads into the high school, the pathway of Project Lead the Way, lots of manufacturing pathways in the high school as well. And they really wanted to see they were losing momentum with the middle school kids coming into the high school, and not as many kids were attracted there because they hadn't engaged with those since elementary. Because of that time of year with my job, obviously July is crazy with the fair, but leading up to there, June is when we do lots of 4-H activities. So we have lots of trips that kids can participate in. I lead one of our trips, our local 4-H camp that we go on. But they wanted it in June. So to go along with that, we also partnered with the Peabody Library and their STEM director, just simply to manage time and material. So they were wondering whether it would be that big of an interest. They were going to advertise it to their kids in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So that would be incoming. So actually 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I said, well, somebody's going to have to be right there and stop registration, because I said it's going to fill really fast. So they launched it at Indian Springs Middle School. And I think it was by 2 p.m. she called me and she said, okay, you guys set the limit at 20, but there's 27 already on the counter. What do you want me to do? And I said, you got to shut it off now. We're going to be we won't have enough supplies. So we had 27 kids that signed up for the camp. Super neat that all 27 showed up all 5 days. We didn't have a single kid miss a day. When we surveyed them at the end of camp, all 27 said, if you offered it again, we're coming back, because it was something that they'd never had the opportunity to do before. So that was really neat. We're looking at possibly making that an annual camp that we host at the high school and potentially broaden our reach and reach more kids across the county. So on the backside, just want to leave you with just a quick snapshot of our 4-H program and where we were this past year. Our 4-H year runs October 1st to September 30th. So this past year in 2020, 2021, total number of kids that we had enrolled in our 4-H program was 747. If you look at the year prior, which I called out the year COVID hit, we had 781. So we were shut down in March of 2020. So that was our number in March of 2020. So we were looking at probably a record year back, probably 15 years or more since we had been that high. So this past year, 747. So we were down 34 kids. Super thankful for that number because actually the trend around the state was 15% drop in overall numbers. There were counties right here in Northeast Indiana that lost 50% of their kids in their 4-H program. So thankful about that. Our adult volunteers that actually physically fill out the forms, we do a background check, and they are hands-on with our kids. We had 152 adult volunteers this past year. That's down 9 from the year prior. As all of you, I'm sure, are well aware, volunteerism is on the decline. It doesn't matter what organization you're a part of. So then just some highlights, our top projects this last summer, and what we call our static projects. Those are our non-livestock projects. We had a total of 707 projects that were exhibited. Our top project was photography. We had 98 kids and projects in photography. Dropping down to our animal projects, we had 1,582 head of animals on our fairgrounds the week of fair. If you just look at those two numbers, the number of animals compared to the number of static projects, we are 2-to-1 animals to static projects. That is highly, highly uncommon. Most counties, it's the other way around. You're 2-to-1 static to animals. So big focus on obviously animals here in Whitley County. Those projects are big here. So top animal projects this past summer, goats, we had 291 head of goats on our ground. That was an all-time record number here in Whitley County, to the point that our fair board is currently looking to do an expansion on our goat barn because it simply won't hold the goats. Rabbits was second, swine was third, poultry was fourth, feeder calf was fifth. And then breaking down just kind of our youth. So our mini 4-H program is geared towards kindergarten through second graders. We had 132 mini 4-Hers this past year. Our COVID year, we had 139, so we nearly matched that number. I totally anticipate we're going to blow both those numbers out of the water because we're already at 101. And we're nowhere near typically the end of 4-H enrollment, which is usually in April or May. So our number of kindergartners, so that's the first year these kids have come in and interacted with our 4-H program, we had 49. Another program that we launched 2 years ago is called our Mini 4-H Animal Mentor Program. That's where we take our mini kids and we match them up with an older 4-H'er that's involved in an animal project. With that program, those minis actually go over to that older mentor's home at least 3 times prior to fair, and they simply get to learn about their favorite animal. So if it's a feeder calf or it's a pig or a rabbit, they learn about where that animal lives, how they feed it, take care of it, and then obviously how they get it ready for the week of fair. So we had 67 of our kids, that's over half of our kids are involved in that program, which is awesome. Part of that program is, if you look at the world of 4-H, and a lot of people equate 4-H to just animals and you got to live on a farm and you got to live in the country. That's less than a third of actually of what we do. Our animal projects are very small with only 11 of them, and we offer over 50 of non-animal projects. So to get 67 kids actually interested in animal projects is awesome, and providing that experience. So the number of first-year kids that we had in our program last year, we had 134. That looks really good, but it counts third graders as they go from our mini 4-H program to our traditional 4-H program. So it counts them back on year 1. So if I pull those kids out, how many kids do we have in our program that were truly first-year kids last year? We had 56, which is awesome. And then I always compare that. They tell us with our program, if you look at how many kids you're graduating out each year compared to the kids you have coming in, tells you really where your program is sitting. So our number of 10-year and final year kids we had last year was 58. So we're almost mirroring the kids where we're at in the midst of COVID. So at least I'm thankful that it looks like our program is staying steady with all the hurdles that we had to jump within the last really 2 years. So I'm excited about this year. Lots of new things that we have planned. We're looking towards the future. So any questions?
I did. One thing I was thinking about was that the activities that you have. Could you explain, what type of activities?
Sure.
For the STEM program?
So STEM, we really kind of break it down. So we'll go in and do food science activities. We'll do chemistry activities. One that we take out, kids love, we call it elephant toothpaste. If you search on the internet, you'll find elephant toothpaste. But with that program, it's more than just having fun. A lot of the kids, when we go in, they're like, oh yeah, we've made slime. That's great, but do you know the science behind slime? Because that's what we're going to teach you today. So for elephant toothpaste, we talk about reactions, chemical reactions. We talk about a reactor. So with elephant toothpaste, we use yeast. We use hydrogen peroxide. We use food coloring just because it's cooler and it's fun to see. So when you add those ingredients into a plastic bottle, we just use a Gatorade bottle. When you put those ingredients in there and then you add the yeast mixture, all of a sudden you get an explosion of foam because we put soap in there as well. So you see that chemical reaction, but then we also teach them about an exothermic reaction, which is a reaction that causes heat. So they'll feel the foam, which is just soap, and it feels warm, and then they touch the bottle and it feels warm. So that's when we get the oohs and ahs. The kids usually like, oh yeah, I've seen that. It's done that, been there. But when they actually start touching and they learn the science, then when we wrap up with them, at the end of each activity, we actually have our high schoolers bring them up on the floor and then they just share what they learned. And then you actually hear those kids talk throughout the day that I learned, a third grader I learned about exothermic reactions, and they know what that is. So those are neat. And we obviously have technology stuff. So we'll do robotics. We do these little tiny robots. They're balls and they follow color. So they learn about coding as well. But really it ranges about anything. We do electricity, circuitry, you name it, we do it.
That's great.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Todd.
Thank you. Next up, we have Nathan Bilger for board appointments.
Thank you. Following up from last meeting, we had two reappointments that are current members on the Plan Commission that I forgot to bring to your attention. That would be Kim Kurtzessler and Joe Wolf. So if you wish to reappoint those, I have the reappointment sheet already printed out with their names on it. I also have a blank one in case you come up with another appointment to fulfill the remainder of Mike Bemis's term. If not, wouldn't be the first time that we have a vacancy left in the Plan Commission.
How would you like to proceed?
Being on the Plan Commission for the last year, I really like Joe and Kim. So it would be my recommendation that we reappoint them if they're willing to serve.
I would second that.
Okay, that was a motion.
I'll make it a motion.
Okay. So I do have a motion and a second for a reappointment for Kim Kurtzessler and Joe Wolf. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. What is this one?
This is a blank one if you want.
As far as the open appointment, I don't think that we found the correct person. And obviously it's a very important position. So even if it does need to sit vacant, unfortunately, for a meeting or two, I think that as commissioners, that's what we should do, because it does have such a profound impact on the county.
I was impressed. Robin Wursler reached out to the commissioners by email. I was impressed with her messaging, and I'd personally like to meet her. I don't know if that's something that we'd like to coordinate with Nathan to have her come in. I've never met her before, but I do want to carefully consider the appointment. So I think it's important that we do meet with her.
I agree. I'd be willing to meet with her.
And I had a couple other quick updates too, if you don't mind. One, our new truck was delivered, the Ford Maverick, that we took possession of it on Thursday or Friday. Days go by so fast. Craig let me know he was working yesterday, part of the day, and right now the truck is up to 37 miles per gallon. It is a hybrid, so with the type of driving we're doing, that's really crucial. High clearance as well, which was another thing. So still have to outfit it with lettering and equipment switched over and things, but we're excited to have that. So thank you on that front. Also, equipment, the cameras in the downstairs meeting rooms have been installed, and we're still working out the kinks on timing and getting the audio and visual synced. So tomorrow night's Plan Commission may be a little odd to watch. I will say that. Maybe like a Japanese samurai movie almost. But we will get things worked out. And then finally, the county wall calendar that we do every year wasn't yet prepared at the last meeting, but they are prepared now. Lois Knoll from Community Corrections took the lead photo on that, so congratulations for her. The other photos, we had 3 other photographers, basically all submitted very similar sunset and sunrise photos, and they just didn't work well with a very springtime photo of the courthouse. So do appreciate their entries though, that we do have. And as you know, we have several employees each year, changes every year that submit photos, and that's always a nice thing, always yields a nice calendar, I think. So, any questions for me?
Quick question about the meeting room downstairs. Did we upgrade the audio as well, or just the video?
Right now, the audio is still the same. I am looking at replacing the basically the standard mics with boundary mics, which are the little pancake ones that would do a lot better given the situation.
Okay.
But the standard mics do okay for what we need. It's the audience that, just like in this room, the audience doesn't get picked up. We have a podium down there to have people move to, but we are looking at changing it, hopefully upgrading, but visual first.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, Katy Fry from the Highway Department.
Good afternoon. Just a few things today. I do have a right-of-way cut permit application for you. It's just for gas install for NIPSCO on 800 East, and this would be just north of State Road 24 on the west side of the road. It's our recommendation that it's approved. There's no concerns with that permit.
I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve the request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. And oppose the same.
And then included in your packet should have been a amended copy of ordinance 2020-14, which just establishes basically the process for submitting a right-of-way permit, and also deals with mailboxes as well. The only changes that I've made to this particular ordinance is to correct the verbiage. And it referred to the county highway engineer. I have changed that to just highway director to enable me to approve the less crucial, I guess, permits. All of the open cut permits will still come to the commissioners. But as far as just the boring and then just other minor trenching things, those can be approved in the actual highway department and not have to come to the meetings. And then the only other change on that permit, I believe, was it also gives the county highway department the opportunity to issue fines for violators of the permits. There are fines and fees if a permit is not obtained, and it's all laid out there in the permit, but it just gives the highway department the authority to issue that as well as the commissioners if need be. And I do have a clean copy for signature as well if it passed.
I don't think I've seen that. Katy, you didn't email that to me, did you? Sometimes.
I think if Matt hasn't seen that yet, I'd make a motion that we table until the next meeting.
I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second with discussion.
Yep.
On the fines. So with that, how would you make the determination if you are going to issue the fine or if you want to bring it to us?
Really, I think it probably depends on the amount for the fine. For some of the lesser fees, I think it could be determined by the highway department. So for instance, the driveway permit, if they fail to have a driveway permit prior to putting in the driveway, that's something that's minor. It's only a $100 fine if they fail to do that. But I would say probably the more extensive fines and fees, such as the open cuts, since the open cuts are approved by the commissioners only, that would be a fine and fee that would then be imposed by the commissioners.
I think I would like to see that all explicitly written out. Not that I think that you wouldn't follow what you said, but I just think that years down the road, it could be an issue.
Matt, don't we have to have that go through the fee committee? So, any fees?
Typically, when we've had fines, yeah, I went through the fee committee because where do the funds go once the fines are instituted? I know we did that.
Or Nathan for planning and building.
Yeah, and I think with drainage board, even when we instituted fines for similar things, I think it went through the fee committee to figure out.
And in 2020, I was not involved with the passing of this ordinance, so I don't know what all has already been completed with it. These modifications were simply just to allow for approval for the permits to be done at the highway department under the new title, I suppose.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say is, I happen to know the fines aren't newly created, like, this has already been approved, it's just then giving the highway department the authority to implement the fine. So I think a lot of the work's already been done, but it'd be a good idea for Matt to discover or explore that.
Yeah, I can. And I mean, really, the changes that Katie's made are all just basically changing it from the engineer, it looks like, to the director, which that
Yeah.
part,
Okay.
I mean, it shouldn't be an issue. The fine, I think, is where it does get, as Teresa raised, a little bit discretionary because it doesn't say, well, the highway department can do these and the commissioners have to do these. Previously, those fines were all under your purview. And so to the extent you want to cede some of that control to the highway department, maybe that does make sense, but some direction from you guys about what is okay for the highway department specifically to do the fines, or and maybe the way Katy laid it out of just the open cuts should all come to you, but boring and driveways maybe don't need to. If you're comfortable with that, then we could just modify the ordinance that would say basically the commissioners approve A and B and then do a new paragraph that says the highway department has the discretion to do C and D. And because if that's kind of the consensus, is that's what you said, right?
Yeah, and if you'd like that laid out in black and white before actually moving forward with it, I can most certainly bring it to the next meeting, which is February 7th, I believe.
I guess the only other, I don't know what happened with, I'm assuming it went through the fee committee, but
I would imagine if it was done in 2020 that it went through
that
the.
it probably did, but I don't know.
But I was under the impression that we had changed something, but if we haven't changed the.
It's not changing the amounts of the fines. It's just a matter of, so maybe that doesn't need to be done. Is there anything that like is going to happen between now and February that would be a reason why we couldn't just table it and rewrite it?
No, it's just a matter of convenience for the entities that are applying for the right-of-way cut permits to be approved a little bit sooner. But prior to the ordinance being passed in 2020, they had to wait till each commissioner meeting anyway, so it's certainly not an issue.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second to table. Is there any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and oppose the same, and that has been tabled.
And the last thing I have on the agenda for today, I have the 2022 Community Crossings Matching Grant Fund completed. To sum that up, there will be a total of $1,093,380 that we are applying for as far as our project. That puts the county committing a 25% total of $273,345 towards the community crossings. I did take off about 2 miles to what we had planned, just to kind of allow for a little bit of a decrease in funding, just so we don't exhaust all of our funds or designate those funds so early in the year. But we will be applying for a second round of the community crossings that's due in July. So I did send over kind of the summary of what the community crossings application, which particular roads. It will be about 10 miles that will be proposing to be paved for 2022. But I do have the financial commitment letter here, and it only does need one signature by Commissioner Banks. And the deadline for that is January 28th, but I would like to get it submitted a week in advance to give them opportunity to look it over and let me know if there's any issues with it.
I'd make a motion that we approve the commitment letter for the $273,000 for the community crossings grant.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Oppose the same. Is there a signature page?
Just the front letter there. You would just have to sign down on the letterhead and that's it.
You need a copy of this.
And unless you have any questions for me, that is all I have.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Okay, next up, we have payroll and accounts payable claims approval. I did have a chance to review this morning and did not see any issues. I'd entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable and payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll and accounts payable.
A second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and oppose the same. Next item on the agenda is the previous meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. Okay, Commissioner Schrumpf, anything to add?
Nothing this time.
Commissioner Green?
Nothing right now.
Auditor? Anything from the general public? The only thing that I have is just if you could give us an update on payroll.
I did send out a department head notification after our department head meeting Monday last week. We are meeting with them again Thursday. They're handling issues as they're coming. We're asking department heads still to reach out. We have quite a few department heads that have been running parallel with Right Stuff, and now that we've got the rates changed for 2022, everything's looking good for a lot of people. I will not say for all. So it's looking better.
Okay,
Kind of where we're at right now.
great. Well, that's all I had, so I'll adjourn the meeting.